Hello everyone, my name is Chris Anderson, and today my partner Mark Daigle and I will be discussing Pete's rifle purchase in Deer Hunt Fantasy. This is from Episode 7, Season 1 of Mad Men, titled Red in the Face, where Pete chooses to return a chip and dip that him and his wife received as a gift. Pete is the chip and dip and the rifle. The chip and dip in the BB gun depicts the emasculation of Pete Campbell. Pete says they received 2 chip and dips, but I think he just doesn't like the gift and wants the $22. First, the women at the department store treat him with contempt, while his friend receives the attention from the clerk that Pete desired. Then, instead of the cash that he desired, he uses the credit that he received to purchase a gun. Instead of feeling tough, he ends up getting chewed out by Trudy for it. It's important to recognize this as an example of market segmentation, specifically gender segmentation in action. When it comes to shopping for different products or receiving them as gifts, men and women have different perceived interests, and Pete appears to draw the line at receiving a chip and dip and must make amends by replacing it with a gun. Pete, the bad husband. Trudy chastises him for exchanging the chip and dip for the gun because she wanted something more useful for both of them, and it was a gift from her aunt. But he was selfish and bought something useless for himself that he doesn't bring home. It's a metaphor for him being a bad husband. At home, he's all surface, but practically useless, whereas at work, he's a facade, immature, and likes to cause trouble. Hunting and masculinity. According to a study published in the Journal Bulletin of the American Schools of Oriental Research in 2008, the slaughtering of large, dangerous animals as a spectacle dates back thousands of years, with records from the Assyrian Empire, about 4,000 years ago to around 600 BC, describing kings boasting of killing elephants, ibex, ostriches, wild bulls, and lions. Even today, acquiring trophy animals is a means of displaying power, according to Khalaf. In some African countries where big game hunting and trophy display are expensive forms of entertainment practiced primarily by white men, hunting evokes colonial and patriarchal ideologies, according to Khalaf. Pete, reclaiming his masculinity. The rifle paired with the hunting fantasy symbolizes him trying to reclaim his manhood. After all, he does have a gun. He did, however, obtain it by returning a fairly feminine wedding gift. It's small and weak, and it's only suitable for minor tasks. It's unremarkable and mass-produced. He hasn't made it better or used it as a stepping stone to something bigger or better. Now, how is this relevant to marketing? At the time, the marketing industry was led predominantly by men, so for a character like Pete to feel emasculated really represents the weakness and vulnerability Pete displays throughout the show. Even today, some may argue that the marketing industry is still predominantly masculine, but I believe there are more females now than ever that play larger and more important roles. Pete, the cookie cutter. The underwhelming nature of the rifle reminds me a lot of Pete. He got a lot of what he has because of his mother's name keeping him at the firm in Season 1, or through Trudy's assistance. Despite his achievements in high position, he is physically, intellectually, and financially weaker than many of his peers, as well as extremely insecure and constantly sniveling. He appears to have little that sets him apart from the other men, to the point where he does not appear to be his own man. He does not appear to improve himself or his life in any other way other than financially, and he does not appear to have taken advantage of the many opportunities to do so. This can be related to marketing in the sense that Pete has got himself caught up in the rat race. He may be doing better financially, but he has many problems with his relationships and personal life, and comes off as an unsavory character overall.
Pete the individual. In a social survey conducted around families and changing gender roles, research showed that women prioritize collective spending, whereas men prioritize the individual. This, combined with Pete's constant humiliation, leads to the BB gun exchange, which is something for him that he can have fun with himself, rather than something that's useful to the both of them, the collective. A more domestic product. When Pete initially unveils the gift to his friends, they are clueless as to what it is, and he has to explain it, trying to sell them on the concept, recounting a dinner party he was at with a friend. A more domestic product like this leaves the majority of the single man and even some of the married men baffled. This is in tune to how products were marketed in 1960. A niche domestic product like this would not be advertised on the scale of something like cigarettes or Coca-Cola, and wherever this was being advertised, his coworkers were very unlikely to be aware of it. The fact that Pete even knows or understands the product is enough for his coworkers to make fun of him, which further emasculates him. Pete and Trudy. The chip and dip also represents the power balance in Pete's marriage to Trudy and how it favors Trudy due to her being the breadwinner. His co-workers offer him lunchtime drinks, whereas Pete has to decline, as he was told to do this task today. He's forced to repeatedly say "we got to" over and over again, being humiliated every step of the way with each person he encounters. Understanding that men will prioritize the individual when it comes to how they spend, Pete's rebellion in the BB gun exchange isn't just another way of him reclaiming a small piece of his masculinity.
It's a chip and dip. You have your fingers in your ears, it's a chip and dip. You have your friends over, you put chips on the sides and dip in the middle. Dip. Yes. We went to these people's house and they had one. It had sour cream with these little brown onions in it. Very good. It's a chip and dip. We got two. It's practically four of something. What is it? It's a chip and dip. You put chips on the side and dip it in the middle. For entertaining. Same price as a chip and dip.
It was a pleasure sharing this discussion with all of you, and hopefully you all have a better understanding of Pete Campbell and his choice to purchase a BB gun. If you take a look below, you can see our sources. Thank you.